We want people who are really feel responsible for their work, for their environment, and also for their results. Intrinsic motivated people. And we attract these people, we only hire where we have the feeling that these people own it. "22 hours we had left to find a solution to pay our salaries on time." This was a couple years ago. It's the beginning of Gedankentanken, and you get very creative when you are in this situation. There was a time where Stefan decided to sell his motorhome, his caravan, to pay the salary on time 20 hours later. It was the same time where we were sometimes not able to gift enough tickets to have a full venue at our speakers' nights. It was the same time where we did not find enough employees who want to work for Gedankentanken. It was the time where we uploaded videos on YouTube or on our podcast and nobody cares. Now, a couple of years later, 2019, we just get rewarded by Focus as one of the fastest growing companies in Germany. Also from Financial Times Europe as one of the most fastest growing companies in Europe. Our employees and the culture specialist from Great Place to Work rewarded us as one of the greatest places to work in Germany, even on place 1, which is especially, I think, the most amazing award we were really happy about this year. And today, when we upload videos on YouTube, the people care. Today, about every month, 3 million people watch our videos. I want to talk about in our perspective, main reason, main key driver for the growth and for the success we developed over the last years. And all that begins with the question a couple of years ago: what do really successful companies differ from not so successful companies? What do all the Facebook, Airbnb, Teslas, Google, and Apples, what are they doing different? What differs them from from mostly all other companies on the planet? What do you think? What is that? All these companies are digital. They have smart strategies, smart people, but many others do that as well, or have that as well. We think the main reason why these companies are much more successful than others, and that is something Peter Drucker already said some decades ago: culture eats strategy for breakfast. We think that this is the main reason. It's not a good strategy that makes you really successful. It's the culture of the company. At first, a couple of years ago, I think 6 years ago, it was the first time when I visited the Silicon Valley, where you can really see a lot of companies which have these amazing cultures. And last year, in October, we have done an inspirational tour through the Silicon Valley and Las Vegas with about 100 entrepreneurs. And there we visited Zappos. Zappos is a very famous company in the US. They sell shoes and send it to their customers. And they really have a crazy culture. When you visit the company, you really feel that culture. And that's not a culture I want to work in, but the 1,500 people who work for that company, which in my perspective are also a little bit crazy, they really love it to work for Zappos. For example, there's one really rule they have. In Germany, if you're working as a customer agent, in a call center, it's your task to really be efficient. If the call with your customer is short, you are a good supporter. There it's different. As longer the call is, as better you are. And that ends that the longest call they ever had was 12 hours. And they really celebrate that. And they really reward this guy who was able to talk to one customer for 12 hours. I don't want to know what they talked about. Maybe not only about shoes. Maybe today they're married, who knows? But there are also other crazy things that makes this company really special and a place where these people really love to work. There's one thing, they really can take care of their working environment on their own. They decide on their own and create their working space. And if a customer agent loves to work in a box of balls, when they are phoning with their customers, calling their customers, they can do that. And that is how it looks, like in an IKEA Smallland. I don't want to work there, but the 1,500 people love it. When for us we get the experience that culture is what really makes companies special, what makes them attractive for the right people who really love your culture and be able to be successful, we decided at Gedankentanken we want to create that special culture on the Gedankentanken way as well. That was the time where we decided, and was really tough times regarding money, that we want to take 1 week off of the daily business. The whole company, the whole team. So we flew to Mallorca and worked on our culture. It was clear that this is not a task of the management or of the owners, it was a task of the whole team. The whole team needs to be involved to create a culture, what really makes Gedankentanken special. And there were 2 topics we especially worked on, which we identified the key drivers of good cultures in the Valley area. The first thing is, all these companies have a very clear purpose. When they go to work, they know why they go there, and they love the purpose. We decided, or we developed, that our core driver of Gedankentanken people, of the team, is that we love self-fulfillment. We want to bring self-fulfillment to our customers with our products, but at the same time, we want to have self-fulfillment as a team as well. And I think as a company, it's your task to create an environment where people can really develop and get to that self-fulfillment. That this is the place where the people can really live their full potential. So, side note, we decided to do these kind of works, or these kind of team weeks every year. So last year we flew not with 20 people. Last year it was already with 35 people. We flew to Forteventura for 1 week. This year, this was just a couple of weeks ago, we flew with 70 people to Mallorca again. And just last week we booked about, I think, 140 beds for our June 2020 team week next year. There was another thing we worked on 2 years ago on Mallorca, which is the basement, the foundation of every successful culture, the core values, the principles how a team works together. And I want to show you our 6 principles we live in daily life today and we focus on when we work together. Also, when we hire people, one very important core value for us is own it, roll up your sleeves, and get it done. We want people who are really feel responsible for their work, for their environment, and also for their results. Intrinsic motivated people. And we attract these people, and we only hire where we have the feeling that these people own it. To own things, it's very important that the people are really able to take decisions, otherwise you are not an owner of your work. So you also need to give them the freedom as a company to really take decisions on themselves. And that is what we have done, I think, from the very beginning at Gedankentanken, what made us strong, or the team strong. There's another thing Manuel just mentioned, is grow. The magic lies outside the comfort zone. When I remember just a couple of years ago, I was really afraid of talking to people, to big amounts of people, to holding a speech. Even today I was very, very nervous because it's the first time that I speak on English. So, thank you. So for the last years, many times I really got out of my comfort zone, and I do it to really grow. And I remember it was about 1.5 years ago when we planned the first speakers night in the Lanxess Arena with 15,000 people. We have done the speaker planning, who's speaking on stage. And I said, oh, me, why not? And at the same time, what have I done? I was really scared, terrible. I was even sacrificed to really be on that stage. Even weeks or months before, I was close to death. I had a coach only to coach me through that fears, when I imagined to speak in front of 15,000 people. I've done it, I grew, and a couple of months later, I had the honor to moderate the event with Barack Obama. Even a couple of weeks or a couple of months later, I spoke in the Olympic Hall on the Live Fest at Gedankentanken in front of 10,000 people, and I can say I even had fun talking on that stage. So a couple of months ago, I wasn't able to dream to have fun on such a stage. So growth, I think, a very important success driver over the last years, not only for me, for the whole team. So grow, the magic lies outside your comfort zone. Go for your dreams. If your ideas scare you, you are on the right path. We think to have success, to really develop, it's important to have huge goals, huge dreams. And to find out what can be a huge dream is to ask you really big questions. 2.5 years ago, we asked us the question, who's the most amazing speaker from our point of view we could ever have on that stage? And the answer was quite easy and quite clear for us. That was Barack Obama. In times of not bringing people together, dividing people, we think he's a symbol of bringing people together, and it would be an honor to have him on our stage. 2.5 years ago, as a small startup, not being profitable, having about 20 employees, it was really a crazy dream. It was a huge dream, and we were even scared about talking to it publicly, so we haven't done it. But we believed in that dream, and we have done a lot of initiatives to really live that dream. So it was an amazing feeling that at the beginning of this year, we get a call, and they said from America, from Washington, he would love to visit one of your events. I said, great, cool, let's do it in 1 year, we make a big party. Oh no, let's do it in 8 weeks. Okay, so in these situations, don't start thinking, just do it. Live your dreams, that is what we have done. So we organized an event with 14,000 people. Within 8 weeks, we sold most of the tickets, and it was an amazing feeling. We were quite proud when on 4th of April he landed in Cologne, and 14,000 people, and maybe a few of you also have been part of that event. We had an amazing evening with Barack Obama on the first World Leadership Summit. And that was the picture to that story. Dream big. Community success. Our next core value, our answer to the question, what does quality mean? During the last years, we found out for us that we really want to get our community successful. We don't only want to be the platform as Gedankentanken to inspire people, we really want to develop people and want to help them to transform. So we decided for us that we measure the success of our community, and that is the key driver if we think that Gedankentanken is successful. So we follow that KPI and try to improve our community success from month to month, from year to year. Another, you are laughing, most of you understand that core value, especially the native Germans. Know you don't, which is even Kölsch from Cologne. We focus on measurable impact. So, for those of you who don't understand, you could translate it to no bullshit. That means we really focus on the people which really have impact. We don't want to waste time in not bringing really progress to our customers, to our communities, to bring progress in the company, and we really measure our KPIs to really focus on the things which have impact. The last core value is positive monsters. Yes, we can. And many of the team love this core value most. We are a group of people, and we also only want to hire people who really also are positive monsters. What does that mean and how does it look like? We are people who most of the times, not always, most of the times see the glass half full and not half empty. We want to solve problems and don't want to create them. There was one experience I had a couple of weeks ago, which was for me quite amazing to really see how positive these monsters really are. we got realized that 98.7% of the world population don't understand our content. 98.7% don't understand German and are not able to consume our videos, products, events, trainings, and so on. So we decided we want to get international to really create an impact on that planet. To get an international company, to really get an international spirit, for us it was clear to also hire international talents to work for Gedankentanken. But we are a very cold and a very German company, so we speak German in the company. This is our official language, of course. So it was clear if we really want to have international impact, we need to change our language to English. And to be honest, that's a big challenge for everybody, or not for everybody, but for many people in the team, including me, that all the talks are English, all the communication, documentation, chats, we all switched it into English. When we talked about that in the team, I was really amazed how the team really reacts on that situation, on that idea, and everybody of the team, even the people who has the biggest challenges with that, said that's the only way how to really grow. So that was not really a problem for the team. They react amazing positively. We already switched it into English. And many times we speak English. If one person in the room is not a native German, we switch the whole language into English. So we have a community or a team of positive monsters. To be honest, I'm quite proud to be the CEO of that company, of that team, of Gedankentanken. I'm proud of the success that team created. For example, about our Obama story. But it's not the fact itself that he was on our event and that he was part of the event on 4th of April. It's more the scenes behind that fact. Situations like these. That was the moment when Barack Obama came on stage. That was the moment, and that's part of our team, or members of our team, that was the moment where the team realized what they achieved. That was part of the team who had endless sleepless nights to make that big dream happen. And that was a situation where they really realized what they achieved. I think it's important to create cultures where these kind of teams can grow, where these kind of teams can really develop, achieve big dreams, and love what they do. Thank you.
Dankeschön. Alexander Müller.